that hard work, working on my biceps and my quads and all that stuff. But sadly, I have not worked out in a long time. So sadly, I haven't been putting in that extra time. But the last time I worked out was with one of my friends, and he actually went to Tampa, visited his father. He's not here, that's why I haven't worked out. But it seems like when we would work out, the first set was all good. We're over here like, yeah, I can do this all day, and we in it. And then come down this out of the fifth set, you're over here like using your back and your knees to get all that workout inside of it. And it just seems like as we keep on going, the extra weight that we put on, it affects us more and more. And we are returning from a series that we left off on before camp. It's called No Obstacles. And an obstacle in our life that we deal with is extra weight. Looking at me, you guys can all tell I know a lot about extra weight. All 155 pounds of it. But the extra weight that I'm talking about is not visible weight. It is weight that you cannot see. It is weight that the person can feel. The person that has unforgiveness in their heart, you feel that extra weight on top of them. Me, myself, I am a pretty forgiving person. It seems like, someone says that, sorry, my God, you ain't mean it, I forgive you. But there is a situation in my life that's hard for me to forgive it. Because I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying forgiveness is all that easy, but it's with my father. Years back, when I was a young kid, my father really didn't treat me like a father should treat a son. Alcohol was very involved in his late nights, and he would sometimes get angry for no reason, and have me chasing my bed around, because I'd go chase my bed before I got hit with a belt for no reason. And it seems like this has been on my shoulders. This extra weight has been on my shoulders for quite some time now. And the reason why I feel comfortable speaking about forgiveness to you guys, even though I go through it on forgiveness, is because I'm working on it. And I'm making progress, baby steps, more than I have ever in my life. And just as an example of this extra weight in your life, I'm going to have my buddy Ruben come up here and give us a little demonstration. Now, for those of you who do not know, Ruben is a pretty fit kid. All right? He's like a Greek god. I want to ask my friend Ruben to do a jumping jack, just one jumping jack, show his fitness. There we go. Woo! That's it. That's a jumping jack. That's his fitness. All right? Seemed pretty easy. Now I'm going to ask my friend Ruben to jump up on the top step. That's it. That's all I ask. Wonderful. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, man. I don't know what happened. I just kind of seen an opportunity and I took it. I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? No. You don't forgive me? Not one bit. It's kind of hard, but since you don't forgive me, I need to ask you to do a jump jack. You want to do a jump jack?
I can't.
You can't. What's the reason why you can't?
I'm not a Greek god.
You're not a Greek god. Alright?
It's heavy.
It's the weight on your shoulders is heavy. Can you jump on that top step for me, please? No. Why can't you?
You're heavy.
Because I'm heavy. Alright, man. But I said I'm sorry. So do you forgive me?
Yes.
I can. And that's kind of what forgiveness is like. When you do not forgive somebody, thank you, Ruben, by the way. And then that's how unforgiveness is. Everything feels okay, but then it holds you back on certain things that you were once able to do. With me and my father, he doesn't know this unforgiveness I have built up in my heart. So he'll be like, yo, Matt, got tickets to the Heat playoff games. You want to go? Now, I'm not a Heat fan. Most of y'all know that, but I am a basketball fan, and I'm always up to watching the basketball game. I'll be like, you know what? I don't like the Heat. I don't want to go back inside. I'm like, yeah, I do. It's just because I have unforgiveness in my heart, and I don't want to do that. But yo, Matt, hockey season, the fights, you love the fights, you love it when they brawl out. You know, I'm like, oh, you know, hockey isn't all that good. So that's how I missed out on a lot of opportunities with that extra weight on my back. And it's not until that I could finally, you know, pray to God and ask Him to help me through this, that I can relieve all this forgiveness, all this unforgiveness. And I could finally see you say, you know what, Dad? What you did back then, it don't matter. That's years behind us. I forgive you. Let's go watch the Heat. But thankfully, you guys don't have to follow me. Because if you guys followed me, I would upset you guys. Because, like I said, I don't forget this in my heart. But turn with me to Genesis chapter 50. All right. Here is an example of somebody who has really good forgiveness in his heart. Okay. Man named Joseph. Most of you have heard or know about Joseph. Joseph was the son of Jacob and Rachel. Rachel was Jacob's favorite wife, which made Joseph his favorite son. Jacob showed Joseph a lot of favoritism, and this made his brothers mad. Joseph did them no wrong, but it still made them mad. And what made it even worse is that Joseph could interpret dreams, so they're like, this dreamer. You know, they're kind of mocking him, saying, oh, let's get rid of this dreamer. So one day, they decide to throw Joseph in a pit. His brother, Joseph, his brother, in a pit, and leave him there to die. So they get him, throw him in there. This dreamer's out of our life now. We got our father back. Everything's fine. But they felt a little bit guilty about leaving him to die there. So instead, they decided it would be a good idea to sell him into slavery. I don't know how that's any better, but they did. So they sold him to a slave, to a servant or a official in the Pharaoh's house. That's a better word for it. And then they sold him, and things were rough with him. The official's wife kind of made up a little lie about Joseph, and he was sentenced into the jail. He was then released into the jail, out of the jail, when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams. And it was about famine. He said, a famine is going to come, you know, you guys are doing no food. So Pharaoh was like, oh, this guy's good. Let's keep him for something. So he appointed him to oversee all the famine issues and everything. And then time passed on, and then Joseph is over here in Egypt making a big name for himself, and his family comes along, his brothers come along, and they need food because the famine wiped out all the livestock and all the grass in the land and whatnot. And then unknowingly, they come to Joseph, and they didn't know it at first, and then they ask him for help. And then as you see in Genesis 50, verses 15 through 21, they come to him. And at first they are a little bit scared. Like, he's going to pay us back for the evil that we caused him. There's no way he's going to help us. And then Joseph says to them, do not fear, for am I not in the place of God? What you have to fear. And Joseph found it in his heart to forgive his brothers and to help them throughout their hard times. And Joseph is a wonderful example, because sometimes we see each other and we might do each other wrong, but I'm sure it wasn't as wrong as attempted murder and sold into slavery. You know, someone might lie to me, someone might drop a bottle in my hand, and I might get a little bit mad, and I'm like, you know what, don't talk to me, I'm going to go this way, you go that way. And that's how it is. But Joseph said, you know what, I'm in the place of God. God is with me, I'm with him. I can find it in my heart to forgive. And that's the example that we really need to lead by, is Joseph. But we have another story in the Bible of what happens when you don't forgive. And this is found in Matthew 18, 21 through 35. All right. Now, this is a parable that Jesus is teaching. You know, he's one of his disciples, and Peter asked him, how many times should I forgive my brother who sinned against me? 7 times? And Jesus says, no. I say unto you, 7 times 70, I believe. Check that out. But the point is that there's no limit to forgiveness. and then he gets into his actual his teaching, and then it's about the unforgiving servant. All right, here's a servant who serves the king, and he owes the king a lot of money. They use a fancy word in here, but it's like basically it's 20 years' wages. Imagine working your whole life, 20 years, and all the money that you owe, that you gain, you owe it. That's a lot. And then the king was about to sentence him to jail with him and his family. And then he begs and pleads, and no, king, spare me, and I will pay you back. So then the king's like, you know what? I will remove the debt. Not, you can pay me back. He will remove the debt. So he goes on his way. Now, this servant goes to another servant who owed him 20 weeks' wages. They use another fancy word, but it's equivalent to 20 weeks' wages. Not as bad as 20 years, So he's over here making a big deal about it. The servant, he's yelling at him. He chokes him. He threatens him. And he actually sends him to prison until he pays off his debt that he owes. So the other servants who were watching, they go to the king talking about all this mess that's going on. This servant is crazy, he's choking people, throwing people inside of jail, and the king is like, whoa, he owed me way more than that, and I forgave him. I forgave him of the debts that he owes, and I dismissed him. So what's going on here? And that's how most of us are. We want everybody else to forgive us. And that thing's happened to the servant, by the way. I think he was thrown inside of jail or killed. One or the other. But that will happen to none of you if you don't forgive. I'm just saying. But that's how most of us are. Because we are so quick to want forgiveness for ourselves. We're so quick to say, my brother, please forgive me for what I did to you the other day. But when something happens to us, we flip the script. We're like, hold up there. No. And then even if they bring it up, I forgave you, we still have a cold heart about it. So we have two stories in the Bible. The way that we should act as our forgiveness and the way that we should not. And sometimes we forget all of the teachings in the Old Testament. That's what I think the Old Testament is, really. They're stories, but the stories have meanings. They're all teachings. And we forget about all those teachings in tough times. And it's important for us to remember, like Joseph, amazing guy, talented, gifted, all that stuff. And most of us forget about it. And that should never be the case. But I always like to point things back to Jesus when I'm teaching, because Jesus is what our salvation is based off of. So here in Luke 23:34, we have Jesus who is being killed on the cross. He is being nailed up on the cross. He's being mocked. He's being spat at. All this stuff. People are coming to watch it. It's like a little festival. Some are mourning, but some are like